Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands here in South Africa. Welcome to Sunset Safari with a gorgeous big male waterbuck relaxing in the sun. As you can hear, the wind has picked up and we have got a full-on party happening on quarantine this afternoon. Not only have we got this gorgeous waterbuck, but we have got a variety of other animals here as well. But it's a really great way for us to start a lovely, sunny, windy afternoon. My name is Tess. I'm going to be your guide on safari here for the afternoon. Behind the camera is Igor for his last afternoon safari here at Juma for a while. So we are very excited. We got to start our afternoon with so much diversity. And of course, we're going to do everything we can this afternoon to find all the best things. But we've actually stopped here not only because of the waterbuck, but because there are impalas as well. And right in the background, there's a zebra and even a wildebeest. It's my first zebra on quarantine in months. It's so exciting. Now you can see the zebras in the shade, and that's because it's a very hot 26 degrees Celsius here, although the wind is helping. But you will notice this zebra has not got much of a tail. Now it's got a bit of a stump and it is still flapping it, purely because there are flies that would be attracted to it. But of course, being in the shade is its biggest advantage at the moment. We would love to hear from you though, so if you have any questions, comments, you want to let us know what you'd like to look for today, or any suggestions for what Igor should see on his last drive, please let us know. You can find us at #WildEarth on Twitter. If you're under the age of 18, pop us an email on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Or you can register on the website, head over to the channel page and submit your questions there. Myself, Cedric and Chris are looking forward to hearing from you. I think if I was the stallion, I would be doing exactly the same thing. I'd be standing with my bum into the breeze in a nice shady spot and just enjoying the company of so many other animals. Have a look at that. One wildebeest, one waterbuck, a sea of impalas, and gorgeous golden light. So I feel like we're in for quite an interesting afternoon this afternoon. If Penguin Beach is anything to go by, I know Byron had an absolutely brilliant day, kitted out from head to toe in his WildEarth gear. And he was discussing a lot about different birds, especially things like Egyptian geese, but also penguins and how they use the sand to maybe exfoliate their feet. But better than that, it was World Otter Day yesterday, and his dream is to see a Cape clawless otter in real life. And I saw one on my second last day of leave. How lucky am I? So I hope you found one, Byron. I'm going to sit here for a few more minutes though and just take in some of this gorgeous scenery with our little mini Serengeti. Let's have a look at what the weather's doing while I reposition a little bit for that waterbuck.
Okay, another first for me at Pridelands. My first Pridelands ground hornbills. What a way to start. What a way. Especially since we've had what sound like a great time at Penguin Beach with Byron, who was kitted out from head to toe in his WildEarth gear. It looks like 3 individuals now. Can't see the makeup of the group yet. They are a little bit too far for my binoculars. And I'll need them to turn towards me in order to see whether they are males or females. All adults. My name is Chris though. And with me on camera ops, BK Uhuru yet again. And our plan today is the same as every day. Try and take over the world. And the first thing that we'll have to accomplish in doing that is find tracks of a herd of buffalo. We did see some tracks this morning, so that's actually going to be our plan, to see if we can't find tracks of that herd and to try and trail them.
Tingana has been affectionately known as the Duke of Juma for many years, but his path to the throne was not an easy one. Mvula was a legend from the south.
This is the cat that I'm pretty sure Tingana was sniffing around for. That is Mvula. How exciting is this?
Eventually, Mvula lost, but his young son Quarantine started to push through from the east. At the beginning of 2018, an intruder arrived. His name was Hukamuri.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
Right, I'm just going to reposition quickly. Still see them there. I think if we slowly go around, we might actually get another better view of them. There is a road that side. Okay, we'll just go around, literally around. I think we'll get nice and close there. Jerome says this is crazy. Hi, Jerome. They never see them at Birdlife. Yes, I believe they are not very common out here. It just shows you, when you spend enough time out here, eventually you will find rare things. Remember that snake we saw? That was very rare. I think they probably go down a little bit. They are coming our way. And then I can see what the composition of the group is, and I can report that back to various groups who study these birds. Alright, I think this could work. Now just remember that the zoom of the camera probably has a much better view than I would have even with my binoculars. They're just too far. I can't pick out that blue patch of the females. Mac, good afternoon, Mac. Just mentioning what a nice way it is to start the drive. Absolutely. I think this one on the right could be a female. I can't really pick up. It's moving and I'm trembling. Maybe I should use... No, I can't tell. A bit of a wind coming up, yeah? No, we'll wait for them. I'm sure they're going to come here. Let's go over to Cedric, who's dying to say good afternoon to you.
Yes, that is very true. The more time you spend in the bush, the better chance of finding rare species around here. and of course, nicer the sightings become. But yes, welcome here at Juma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, South Africa. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cedric Dold, and behind the camera this afternoon, we've got Panda Bear. So yes, thank you for joining us this afternoon on our Sunset Drive, and I'm hoping that we are going to have an exciting drive this afternoon and find exciting things for everybody. So as well, please remember to send your comments and your questions in to us. But as well, on top of that, I just want to quickly mention, I know that this morning Tessa and Eagle, they had a bit of a challenge going, and because they by chance, well, by mistake, they took a decaf coffee on drive instead of a proper normal coffee, and Igor told Tess if she can organize a good filter coffee that for this afternoon's drive, that he will then do I think it's a side flip or back flip off Wendy and into Chelapan. And apparently Tessa did organize some coffee, and some very good coffee. So of course Igor is up for that challenge. I'm sure he has to now do his side flip off Wendy into Chelapan. So yes, keep watching, and that's going to be very entertaining. I'm definitely going to make sure that my eyes are going to be glued to the screen at that time. But yes, anyway, coming back to more serious matters here in Juma Private Game Reserve. I am on Zoe's Road. I'm going to go further south, and I'm probably going to head Triple M north and go towards Simbambili, maybe Zutini. Maybe I'm lucky with that female leopard again. I'm hoping that she might still be around that area. I did really fall in love with her from yesterday morning's sighting. So I'm definitely going to take a look around there as well for Shadulu. That's why I'm here on the western sector. Maybe we're lucky with Shadulu or Tortoise Pan. So I'm definitely going to start scratching around. This morning we did leave Dark Main and the Telematis. They did go east off Triple M north, but I'm sure it's still too warm. I'm sure they're lying somewhere in the shade. So yes, I heard everybody, or hopefully everybody had a good time watching Penguin Beach. I heard that the Egyptian geese were giving those penguins quite some grief. Those Egyptian geese are really territorial over their little area, and especially that if they do have chicks. But while we continue down with the Zoes, let's head over to Tess.
I think I have to agree with Cedric. Very windy, possibly a cold front coming, but hopefully no rain, hopefully not. We are on Gari Katlan, just north of Central Road, and we have bumped into a very big herd of buffaloes. And I think this explains the lion saga from this morning. Tracks everywhere, crossing over each other, different prides coming in. This is why. Isn't it amazing? Well, this is one of the advantages of the wind. Because it's so strong today, the buffaloes are not hiding in the shade. They're lying in the open, in the sun. And that's a combination of they're not getting too hot, but also you need to see a little further in case the lions are coming, because the wind will cover the sound of their approach. But have a look at that sea of horns as they're all lying in a puddle and moving past each other, literally moving past each other. Very silly jokes for Igor today. But I think my favorite thing in this herd is actually the calves. There's quite a few. There's 2 lying down on the road there, but that one standing there is smaller. Have a look at that golden color. Oh, shame, it just got whacked by that adult as it was trying to scratch. So this would be one of the main reasons why the lions would be moving around, looking for little calves like these ones. But lucky for them, those horns are formidable, and the force of this herd would be massive. So lions have to be pretty brave and pretty strong to take them on. Oh, a little bit of love between the 2 calves. That's always sweet. Well, there are quite a few oxpeckers around. You can see them kind of flitting from buffalo to buffalo. And so that's a pretty good sign for us as well, because we can use the oxpeckers to tell if there's anything else around.
This morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
Our Western Cape coastline is graced with the Cape fur seal. This playful species is curious and entertaining. At Hout Bay Seal Rescue Centre, seals in need are rescued, fed and nursed back to health by our well-trained team of dedicated staff and volunteers. This wonderful legacy of the centre is continued as these protected creatures are rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
So I think as the day's getting cooler, everyone's getting a little bit more active now that it's getting cooler. Oh, Joanna, you're asking for toll fees from the buffaloes. Yeah, we can't pass here, I'm sorry. At least this wasn't created by elephants like Chris's was this morning. A little buffalo roadblock is never something to complain about. Such a formidable part of the Big Five and just part of Africa in general. We don't often get to see big herds of buffalo. So roadblock I'll take any day and gladly pay for it too. Now it does look like everybody's getting a little bit boisterous, and this is again the wind. Because it's cooler than it normally would be, everybody's got a little bit of excess energy. They're very close together from having stayed together in the heat of the day in a very close little huddle. So now that they're getting up and getting active, they all seem to be wanting to push each other around. And this big one walking forwards is actually a young male. I think he's going to be very big when he's older. Look at that body. He's incredibly muscular. There's an old bull walking through, stumpy tail like the zebra. And absolutely brilliant. We're already quite close to these buffaloes, so I don't think we can really get any closer, but we are going to stick around and see where they go, because where buffaloes go, action usually follows in some form or another. But I'll send you over to Chris. He is trying to get closer to those southern ground hornbills. What a beautiful sighting, Chris.
It looks like it's a female, a male, and a juvenile. The one on the far left, you can see a little bit of yellow patches on the red, which means it's still a juvenile. And that appears like the one in the middle, a male, and the one on the right appears to be a female. And that's a composition that does make sense. I mean, they don't form monogamous pairs, they do have breeding groups. And that's one of the reasons why we think the numbers are in decline in the Greater Kruger. It's because of suitable habitat to breed. Now, like all hornbills, they want to breed inside a hole in a tree. And there's not a lot of dead trees that's big enough on the inside to fit them in. Now, there are some theories as to why. Some believe that it could be potentially due to the increased elephant population, where more and more trees get knocked down. But then on the other hand, the elephants also do kill more trees that they don't push down, that they ring bark. So that sort of like almost voids that argument in a way. The Kruger's fire management protocols also said to potentially have had an impact on that, where it destroys potential nesting sites for them. However, you can only really get to a conclusion with proper research, and it's all ongoing. I'm going to have to reposition slightly.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, we have exciting news for you.
The winner of this month's prize giveaway will win a hamper full of Explorer merchandise.
Like this fantastic t-shirt that comes in plenty of great colors, a very useful tote bag, or even a cap.
For those in the southern hemisphere that's heading into winter, a sweatshirt to keep you warm.
Head over to the WildEarth Explorers page. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win all of these goodies.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
All things bright and beautiful. All creatures great and small. All things wise and wonderful. WildEarth will see it all. Each little flower that opens. Each river that does flow. Join us to celebrate World Environment Day for a very special safari show.
Hi there, dancing trout. Says she loves the way that these hornbills walk. Yeah, that's quite a funny little gait. Hey? Special sighting, special day in a special place. Well, I'm going to look for our buffalo herd, and that makes me think maybe we should find out from Tess how it's going with her buffalo herd.
Chris, I feel like it's a ridiculously special day. For a first day back, I've seen quite a lot of different things, and I wasn't expecting buffaloes. I don't think eagle was either.
Not at all.
I mean, with all the lion activity, you've got to think something's up for everyone to be back, but we just never ever expect a herd of buffaloes to come along. So I'm sure everyone will be wanting to come and have a look at the buffaloes this afternoon. There's just something special about seeing a herd of buffaloes. These big, powerful animals, the most potentially dangerous animal in the Big Five. And yet here they are, a sea of horns relaxing 15 meters away from us. It's just shaking ears and tails wherever you look, and they are so relaxed. Mesmerizing movement. Oh, they've just started smelling something. Have a look at that. There's at least 6 or 7 of them with their noses up. They smelled something because the wind direction changed. I wonder if they can smell the lions. So where the lion tracks were this morning and where the Nkuhumas walked past at midnight was just behind us, probably 70 meters behind where I'm parked at the moment. And the wind changed to exactly where those tracks are coming from. Eagle, can you please zoom in on all of those oxpeckers on this one, this old cow? I think it looks like there might be a yellow-billed there. Yeah, they're all yellow-billed.
Having a meeting.
They are. They're having a conference. That is unbelievable. I've been hoping to see yellow-billed oxpeckers So we're getting buffaloes and yellow-billed oxpeckers at the same time. These were locally extinct just a few years ago. And as time is going on, they've reintroduced themselves, and their distribution is spreading further and further south, back to where it always used to be. That's the most yellow-billed oxpeckers I may ever have seen together in a group in my guiding career, having a conference. Meeting between shoulder blades.
We want to hear from our Wild Earth kids this World Environment Day. You are the future protectors of our planet, and we want to help you understand what needs to be preserved.
We saw a termite mound. We got to see a lot of unique animals. Some trees are male and female. That's pretty cool, right? A whole lot of different creatures.
It was amazing that we could ask questions.
Kids, send in your questions for our special World Environment Day safari on June the 5th.
It was so cool!
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
So these oxpeckers are really having a great time hopping from buffalo to buffalo. It's a very faint noise because of the wind. Unfortunately, it's blowing away from us. And the very tiny differences between the calls of a yellow-billed and a red-billed oxpecker. One is just slightly higher pitched and a little bit faster in its frequency. But it looks like they're all having an amazing time. These buffaloes are lying down, they're busy chewing the cud, ruminating. A few of them staring at us, giving a bit of the stink eye. And the rest seem to be trying to push each other around. It's quite fascinating. There's a whole variety of activities happening. Mac, it really is quite a stink eye. I must be honest, there's not many animals that can give you the stink eye quite as adequately as a female buffalo can. A big buffalo cow, like that one with the oxpecker on her crown, when they look at you, especially as you're approaching a herd or if you make any big movements, they give you this look. And the probably the most intimidating thing about buffaloes is actually a herd of buffaloes is fairly safe to approach, especially in a vehicle, but even on foot. You approach a herd of buffaloes much more easily than you would a buffalo bull. But when the cows are not so happy and they start giving you the stink eye, they start walking towards you with their nose in the air. And I can tell you, it gives you a bit of a heart palpitation every now and then. You kind of start getting a bit nervous when they get close. But I think that's just nature's way of reminding us where we sit in the pecking order, really. We all think we're at the top, but in reality out here, I think we'd be very close to the bottom. But I'm quite enjoying the pattern that these two horns are making. One at the back is an adult, and the one in the front is still a yearling. Different shapes. But I wonder, because we're so close to Gowrie Dam, I think these buffaloes would have come in from kind of Buffelshoek area. They're probably going to head down towards Gowrie Dam later and have a drink, so I'm definitely coming back to check on them. But speaking of, it sounds like Cedric has made his way to a dam. Maybe he will get lucky, like I'm hoping to do with the buffaloes later.
Yes, fantastic. I'm so glad our Tess has got a nice herd of buffalo coming onto Juma. It definitely does explain all the lion activity that has come through. So that is brilliant. Typical now for our winter coming now. And I think it's nice just to see all that those big herds it's pulling through now, as well as those yellow-billed oxpeckers. It is something that you all always must look out for, especially on those herds of buffalo. I always think, grab your binocs, take a look at all those oxpeckers. Many times you'll think it's going to be red-billed oxpeckers, but look what happens, you get beautiful yellow-billed oxpeckers. But on top of that, what I am sitting pretty much here, this is the time of the year where a lot of elephants are busy pulling out a lot of trees, due to the ground is very soft from all the rain that we've had, so it's very saturated at the moment, and the elephants come to all these combretum bushes and trees, and as well as the terminalias, that's the silver cluster leaf, and of course what they do, they're loving the roots. So you can see a lot of these dug up places and dug up areas, and what they do, they'll take out these entire bushes, because it's so easy to take out at this point in time because it's so soft, or the ground is so soft. They'll pull the entire bush out, or the entire tree, and they'll start feeding on the root systems. And the root systems, of course, is gathering up a lot of moisture from the ground, and it is ideal for the elephants at this time of the year. So that's why a lot of these areas, a lot of the roads you will see have been dug up by elephants, and a lot of the trees have been removed from the ground itself. But I'm slowly going to take a look here. There's more of it. And that's why the elephants go through through 6 sets of molars. You can imagine actually going down and actually eating all these roots and very, very tough branches and all that. So it's a lot of wear and tear on the teeth, and of course usually after the 6 set of molars is worn down, well, of course that's when the elephant will pretty much starve to death due to the fact of they cannot put that amount of vegetation into their system. But then we're coming to take a look up here to the pan, because here at the pan, of course, after eating them, all those roots, all the branches, grasses, they'll come here, they'll come and have a nice drink, and of course then they'll offload and they'll do their business, and you'll find a lot of the dung situated around these pans at this time of the year. Now, as you can see, with the elephant dung, only about 30% gets utilized, around about 70% gets passed through. So that's why they have to eat around about 5% of their body weight. So a big male of about 6 tons has to eat about 250 kilograms of vegetation per day, or even up to 300 kilograms, because what will pass through is around about 150 kilograms of dung per day. So that's a lot of dung. But always can take a look with the elephant dung. A lot of grasses, a lot of twigs, roots, leaves, all inside of the dung, inside of the elephant's dung, and you can always quickly pick up on the time of the year as well. So if you do find dung that's got marulas in, you'll know that's around about January, February time. But of course, you find dung that's got something like your greenthorn, or known as a torchwood, seeds in it. That's pretty much this time of the year. So that's around about April, May. But as well, with this dung, a lot of local people, what they'll do, they'll take this dung, because all this vegetation has got some medicinal properties in it. So they'll actually give it to a lady that's pregnant, and they'll actually boil the dung to actually extract all the medicinal properties out of this dung into the water. And of course, I'll give it to the lady to drink only once off. And once she drinks it, and she has, of course, her baby after 9 months, that baby is going to be healthy and very strong. So those medicinal properties do help quite a bit. As well as if you've got a headache, you can definitely take some of this dung and roll it and actually smoke the dung. And I think, as I've said before, I've done it once many years ago. I thought I'll give it a go, and when I did it, I got quite a headache after that. And I asked my tracker why, but he says, "You're not a Shangaan. You haven't been anointed as a Shangaan man." So I said, "Okay, well, thanks for telling me." So yeah, but yeah, as you can see, a lot of dung around this area, and I think a lot of elephants did pass here not long ago. We did have some audio coming down from Treehouse Dam side. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to shoot off to Treehouse Dam and just take a look and see maybe there's some elephants there as well. I might just pop into the hyena, den and see what's happening that side as well. So yes, while we're going to do that, let's head over to Tess and see what's happening on her safari.
Last night. How brilliant would elephants and the hyena den be? I can't wait to go back to the hyena den. I am doing a little bit of a different bumble this afternoon though, so we're heading up towards Hyena Road, speaking of hyena dens, and then heading towards Buffelshoek Dam and back along the eastern side to see if maybe those lines have moved, cheetah cut line. And I think for now, we're just having the best time bumbling around. That's how we found the buffaloes.
Ribbon is the matriarch and has recently been seen with injuries to her body. Corky was the previous matriarch and is believed to be taken back her status. Intima was born to Ribbon in February 2017 and also enjoys a high ranking. Heart is the next rank down, and named June is believed to be the lowest rank, easily recognizable by a floppy left ear.
So our herd of buffaloes was still happily sitting in the sun, most of them ruminating. In fact, a lot of them actually came back and joined the cuddle puddle of buffaloes.
Hi Brian, thanks for the question. You know what? I've ticked off so many high-profile sightings in the time I've been here. I can't really ask for much more in that sense. There are a couple little interesting things that I would love to see though. The one that I've never seen before is I'd really like to see a vine snake.
A vine snake?
Twig snake,
Twig
yeah.
snake, okay.
Really like to see a twig snake.
That's a
bit of a challenge.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I reckon we can do it, Brian. Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. It was kind of...
Back to the penguins.
Before you go back to penguins, you got to see a vine snake. I'll see what I can do. We were actually having this discussion earlier on today about what Eagle wants to do this afternoon because it's so tough. How do you choose? I mean, he's obviously spent a month here, but he's had some of the most incredible sightings. Unbelievable. But it's quite tough because you kind of feel like you have more time, and then the last day comes and you realize, oh, but I wanted to see this place again and that place, and I wanted to do this and that. But I think one of our favorites in particular together, oh nice, is Buffelshoek Dam. So that's exactly where we're going. Igor has just spotted a bird of prey sitting up in the tree. Eagle eye eagle, as per usual. We're going to see if we can get it. It is unfortunately into the sun, so it's going to be quite badly silhouetted, but we're going to try. Oh, it's had a swim. It's giving us a bit of a shake-off. See, very silhouetted. A fairly small bird of prey compared to something like a tawny eagle. It's had a swim. It's nice and wet and shaking off. Very sleek head, curved beak. Looks like brownie colors, although it's tough to tell with the silhouetting. The wings are darker than the chest. Oh. It almost looked like a buzzard. Or a hawk eagle. But it wasn't a hawk eagle. That is fascinating. I don't know if anyone has any guesses based on the flight pattern as it was going. But that was quite beautiful. It had some barring just under the wing, but very brown under the wing. So I'm going to have to, as horrible as this sounds to admit, I'm going to have a look at my bird book because it was so badly silhouetted that all I could see was barring and brown. But fairly small, I would say about that size. What could it be? Maybe even a sparrowhawk, although maybe a bit big for one. Well spotted, Igor. He loves a good bird of prey sighting.
Three brothers named the Avoca males arrived in Juma in 2018. This area had recently been vacated by the Birmingham boys. In 2019, they were seen mating with females from both prides and went on to sire cubs with them. The most recognizable lion in this coalition is Darkmane. Aside from the dark mane that gave him his name, he can be recognized by a distinctive limp.
In that tree are two carcasses. There's a duiker carcass and a waterbuck. Oh, it's not as graceful as... He's a bit hesitant because, well, climbing a tree is not the easiest, but he will get up there eventually. So let's see, there he goes. And look at the power in that. That is a massive 500-pound cat that has just climbed the marula tree and is up in there. How cool is this? I don't know how he's going to do it, but let's see.
So we are just approaching a pan system. So let's see if there's anything here. Shreya, you think it might have been a juvenile African hawk eagle? That would actually make a lot of sense. Based on the size and the shape, it looked like a hawk eagle, but it wasn't black and white. So that would make a lot of sense if it's a juvenile hawk eagle. Thank you. Always one of my top go-tos, Shreya. Always. Thank you kindly for... Oh, this is so... What? Happening this winter? It's amazing. I can hear the water on the tires and I can kind of feel it a bit on the vehicle, but... Oh, that was quite a big bump. Sorry, Eagle. But, not really sliding or anything, so good call to open the roads, give us more adventure time. But speaking of water and how everything has changed, it sounds like Cedric is at Treehouse Dam, so let's head over there and have a look.
Yes, no, definitely. It's nice that the roads are open, and it's nice just to start moving around Juma Private Game Reserve. But as you can see, we have got a beautiful grey heron once again here at Treehouse Dam. Busy hunting, and I think yesterday, was it yesterday morning? Yeah, yesterday afternoon, I think we saw him catching once or twice. I think he caught something like a little, most probably a tilapia fish. But once again, he's on that inflow, and you can see slowly but surely, it's amazing how delicately they walk and through that water and making sure they don't make any ripples. So, of course, and also making sure that the fish do not recognize him coming through. So I'm just taking a look. We might be lucky to see a quick strike again, and they are very quick. All the heron species, not even the herons, even the hammerkop, they're very, very quick when they strike and try and catch a frog, tadpoles or fish. And watch him very slowly. And those feet, and those talons are so long and thin legs as well. So of course, it doesn't. You can imagine the thicker the legs are, the more wakes and little ripples it'll make. I want to see if he's going to go. Usually they'll go very low, especially when he's about to strike. Usually kind of almost like crouched down, and then with lightning speed they will snatch up whatever they see. Oh, the wind is blowing today. I wonder if this is not blowing a bit of a front in. I won't be surprised. I don't think rain. I just think maybe I think just a cold front. Sorry, this is all of dust went up my nostrils there.
See, the hyenas are far more tolerant of vultures than a lion or leopard would be. Occasionally a hyena will bite sort of a couple of tail feathers out of the back of a vulture, but I've never actually seen them, even once they've caught one, actually kill it. Oh, there we go. Nearly got him.
Hyena and hippo walking side by side. Terror etched on the expression of little hippo. Look at this! Last mad dash! Hyena running along beside it. Baby hippo, jaws gaping. It's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. It did it. The baby hippo, against all odds,
Carmen, good afternoon. Do I ever see these herons in flocks? Yes, I have seen them in flocks. Funny enough, talking about that, I've seen them down in the south and the western Cape side, Sedgefield. They've got a big flay in that area, and sometimes you'll see maybe 4 or 5 together. Spread out, not right next to each other, because it's pointless. If you're going to hunt next to each other, your chances of catching something is going to be way less. And but yes, I have seen them spread out, but more than one around. But yeah, it's usually always a single one, sometimes 2 at a dam. Depends on how big the dam is or the watering hole. And even on the Sand River, you can look at down in the Sand Rivers, the big river systems, you'll see sometimes 2, 3, 4, not too far apart, and also not too close. And then, of course, doing their hunting. I think Panda and myself is we're going to kind of head slowly. Just quickly going to pop our nose in at the Hyena den. Just going to see who is there for the time being. If nobody's there, of course, we shall continue. But I think for now, I think we can quickly do that as it is a little bit windy at this point in time. I just want to see if we might get some action and some activity outside. But it is a beautiful day. I think it's about 27, 26. What do you think, Panda? 26, 27? Yeah. Something. 26, 27 degrees Celsius at this point in time. So it's quite a nice, pleasant day. Always. And yes, I'm definitely hoping for those lions later on. We are definitely going to go follow up. I know that Tess and Igor will be looking to go towards, heading towards Dark Main and towards Telemates. And yeah, I'm sure that might be lying somewhere in the bush there in the shade. But anyway, we'll continue to the Hyena den. Let's head off to Tess and see what's happening on her safari.
Indeed, it is a lion's kind of day. It is. I'm just about to turn in towards Buffelshoek Dam. I'm just passing the quarry off of Buffelshoek Cut Line. It's on my right. And then I'm going to turn off right towards Buffelshoek Dam, which will be on my left. And I'm hoping we might see some things around here. So in fact, Tristan found tracks of Tlalamba coming in towards Hippo Pools Road this morning. Just one track, so it's just her, not the cubs. But he found tracks coming in towards Buffelshoek Dam, and this is actually also where we found tracks of lions crossing out. And then we found tracks of lions on Battalier Road, looped back around, and the lions had done like a whole figure of 8 around us and come back in, and we're on Cheetah Cut Line. So we've done a bit of a full circle, but it's worth checking here along this drainage line and along Buffelshoek Dam itself to see what we can find. It's always been a very productive dam when myself and Igor have been here. Malachite kingfishers, elephants, pied kingfishers hovering. Pretty good. Definitely worthwhile to make a stop. And considering I brought actual coffee this afternoon with caffeine in it, we have got 99.9% of our personalities back as compared to this morning. And of course we are very...
This is amazing. And now she's headed towards the elephants. Yeah, here comes the male behind us. This is the male lion coming over here. The elephants are huddled up to protect the young ones in the middle, and he's going after that girl. And they are the buffalo going after the lion, and the lioness, they're still going after them. Look at that guy charging, hey!
So it looks like the hippo is in Buffelshoek Dam, just one. It's a bit strange because a few months ago there were 6 or 7 hippos here, including little ones. I wonder where they've gone. That doesn't make much sense. They stay wherever there's water, and this is definitely the deepest water source on Juma. And there's no shortage of water, so there was no need for them to move. But who knows, maybe they've decided to relocate to a different male for whatever reason. But you can see there's a lot of wind on the water. It's quite a strong, gusty wind. So the behaviors are going to change for all the animals. Harley, names of roads can change. They don't usually. And that's because they're normally named for a very specific reason, after a specific animal, after a specific person who spent a lot of time on that road or possibly even cut the road. Hello, Egyptian geese. Things like that. So they don't often change. They can, and one of the instances or an example where it can change is if you've had somebody working on the reserve for a very long time and they retire and there is a road name you have been looking to change for whatever reason. Maybe it's very difficult to pronounce, maybe it's not really fitting for the road anymore for whatever reason, then you might change it to somebody who's retired after a long time of service, or maybe even somebody that's passed away. So that would be a good instance of changing a road name. It really does not happen often though. Mostly when roads are named, it's very similar to naming the predators or naming characters. You got to think about it very carefully because you know the name is going to stick. You've got to name it for the right reasons, and for whatever reason you choose, it has to be a pretty strong one. Loving that pink glow from their legs. Very impressive. I'm hoping we might get a little bit of action here this afternoon. It's certainly a very lucky dam in the general scheme of things. So let's give it a little bit of time, have a bit of patience and see what comes out. But it sounds like Cedric has made his way towards the hyena den, so let's head over there and have a look while I wait and see what pops out here.
Yes, of course, the one and only, the only one that we would expect to be at the Juma clan den is old Swazi. And she's the only one on this side. There's no cubs at the moment. I'm sure those cubs, I know it is a little bit earlier, but I just thought quickly to pop my nose in here just in case, just to see what's happening. But it's just a Swazi that is lying here at the den site, and I think she's doing, once again, she is doing the housekeeping that side and making sure that the young cubs are all in place, all tucked in bed. And of course, also she's pretty much tucked in bed herself, yeah. So that's, I don't think too much is going to happen at this point in time due to the heat. It's not hot, but it's still just too early for the little ones to really start coming out and start playing around. So I'm sure I will just spend a few minutes aside, and then I'm going to move off. And I think Tess, she said she wanted to come through to the den site later. So I think she might come around here and see what's happening here later. I'm planning to go, of course, west towards Simambili to go and scratch around that area. Well, Swazi, one of the females. Of course, she's got the youngest cub out of all the females of the Juma clan. Tina, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on WildEarth on our sunset safari. Tina, yeah, I think definitely Swazi is the favorite auntie. I think she is doing a magnificent job. Every time we've been coming to the den site over the last few weeks, Swazi's been the one that's been here all the time. So she's doing a really good job, and I think the little cubs are loving her. And I also saw the other day with, I think it was in Tima's 2 cubs. So that's a very small, they're around about, I think now coming on to 3 months old. And those 2 little cubs kept on following Swazi all over the show, and and they also want to do suckle from Swazi. And of course Swazi said, nope, that's not going to happen. You've got to wait for your mom to come back. So of course that didn't happen, but it is nice just to see how Swazi just looking after them and keeping fort here at the den site itself. But you can see she's almost in a deep sleep because you can see her mouth. She's got her mouth is actually like kind of moving, almost like she's busy chewing on something, like ruminating on something.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it. DJ, good afternoon. Swazi, the security guard, sleeping. Typical. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you ever watched that movie Ace Ventura with that, I don't know what it was. It was I think it was a chakma baboon or something that was actually protecting Shitaka, what you call it, bat that they had inside of the tent. And that chakma baboon was supposed to be protecting that bat, and he was fast asleep. So I remember Ace Ventura went past him and was like, sleep, sleep, sleep. I think Swazi's on the same page as that baboon. Oh, that's funny. Thanks, RDJ. Thanks for that comment. Thanks for that laugh. I didn't actually think of that one, but yeah, thank you very much for that. And I think she's definitely not doing a good job. But, of course, as you know, she's always aware. Most animals' ears are always moving, not just because of the flies, but in case if anything's rustling through the grass here, if she picks up on any smell, you can see right there now, she'll be very, very quick awake, and she'll be quickly kind of investigating on where that's coming from. Hey, hello. The security guard. There we go. Oh my word. Anyway, while we watch Swazi continue sleeping here, let's head to Tess while she's sitting there at Buffelshoek Dam.
It's a very good point. Very, very good point. Animals are never that deep in sleep, although I have heard of a leopard falling out of a tree. It was sleeping so deeply. Although, of course, I'm sure it woke up when it hit the ground. And I've seen wild dogs and lions dreaming. You know, when you can see an animal dreaming and you can, like, its lips start twitching and the paws start moving and they start making little noises. And so that must be a pretty deep state of sleep. But that being said, their senses are much better than ours. So where we might continue dreaming if something moves around us, a broken twig or something like that will immediately snap them out of that deep sleep. It's a very interesting technique to be able to wake up from a branch breaking from the deepest of sleeps that you've had. But very impressive. We're doing some birding here at Buffelshoek Dam. We're watching to see if we can see any kingfishers. There's a pied wagtail. That is unreal. Well spotted, Eagle.
Not spotted, pied.
We are honoured with the terrible jokes today. Not spotted, pied. Thank you, Eagle. So wagtails are one of my family's favourite bird species. And particularly a pied wagtail, because we don't get to see them all together that often. We see them more here than we see, for example, the Cape wagtail, which we see a lot at home. When we see a pied wagtail at home, my mom goes absolutely berserk. She gets so excited. But we've had quite a few different generations of wagtails that have kind of habituated themselves to us at the house in Port Alfred. And we've watched them grow up from a very young age. It's been absolutely incredible. So the pied wagtail just keeps moving along the bank, looking for some food.
My name is Amy Macmillan. I'm the owner and founder of Ellie and May and one of the directors of the Macmillan Conservation Fund. My brother Mike and I were incredibly close and both share a great passion for conservation, for wildlife, for nature, for elephants in particular. Tragically, Mike was killed in a car accident. It was through his passion and enthusiasm for conservation and for elephants that really prompted me to start Ellie and May. Ellie and May is a lifestyle apparel brand that contributes towards and raises awareness about elephant conservation. So a percentage of our sales of our caps and our products goes towards the Macmillan Conservation Fund. The aim of the Macmillan Conservation Fund is to support other conservation initiatives through anti-poaching, through the conservation of Africa's wildlife, community upliftment, development and education, and at the heart of it all, keeping Mike's legacy.
So it looks as though most of the life that is here is currently just bird life. Blondie, I wouldn't think so. I think definitely a lot of species have dark feathers when they hatch so that they can blend in with a nest, but it really depends on where the nest is, because the shape and the size and the patterning of the eggs as well as the feathers will be dependent on what kind of nest you have. It wouldn't be very useful for a kingfisher which nests in a hollow in a tree to have very white feathers because it's in a dark cavity, so the chicks will be very dark. But if you look at something like, for example, the blacksmith lapwings that have been hatching at Treehouse Dam, they're on the floor, so they need to be light and speckled. So the eggs are physically white and cream colored with speckles on them to look like stones, and the chicks when they hatched were not dark feathers. They actually had quite light underbellies, and then on the top it's like a sandy grey color, quite light in coloration, and that's so that they can blend in with the floor. So it all depends on where a bird will be nesting as to what the best adaptation of feather colors and eggs will be to make sure they stay camouflaged. There's actually less concern for birds like kingfishers because in the cavity it's quite dark, and so it's already quite well camouflaged just from the lack of light. It's a very interesting question. Now I'm hoping there might be some elephants that come down here a bit later, purely because as much as there are pan systems all over, they're more fussy about what they drink. So they would prefer a bigger waterhole because there's less chance of, or less concentrated, I suppose, mud, dung, urine, all the good things that you'd find in the waterholes from the other animals. And just like I'm sure those buffaloes are going to go to Gari Dam a bit later. What I'm really hoping for is that either those lions have decided to move a bit because it's so windy, maybe towards the buffaloes, or that maybe Tlalamba might pop up, because Hippo Pools Road, it leads onto Buffelshoek Dam. So it would be very cool if Tlalamba was around. And she loves the drainage line down here. We've seen her and Mulwati down here many, many times. Maybe she's here looking for food. She's left the cubs on Torchwood. She's looking for food, and if she's successful like Zutini, then she can go fetch the cubs and bring them back to a hoisted carcass. That would be amazing. I would very much enjoy that. Oh, I love that sound. Hippo breathing out of the water. Let's just listen for a little bit. There's a few odd birds calling. Maybe we'll get lucky and hear something special in the background.
Our Western Cape coastline is graced with the Cape fur seal. This playful species is curious and entertaining. At Hout Bay Seal Rescue Centre, seals in need are rescued, fed and nursed back to health by our well-trained team of dedicated staff and volunteers. This wonderful legacy of the centre is continued as these protected creatures are rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, we have exciting news for you.
The winner of this month's prize giveaway will win a hamper full of Explorer merchandise.
Like this fantastic t-shirt that comes in plenty of great colours, a very useful tote bag, or even a cap.
For those in the southern hemisphere that's heading into winter, a sweatshirt to keep you warm.
Head over to the WildEarth Explorers page. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win all of these goodies.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Ian, yes, hippos certainly do sleep in the water. They are active for majority of the night, so they would actually be sleeping during the day, and they sleep in kind of patches. They can sleep in shallower sections where their feet are firmly touching the ground, and then they often just poke their nostrils out like that. But they would be sleeping in the water. They can sleep under the water as well, because they can block their nasal cavity and their ears so that the water doesn't get in. A lot of the times though, especially now we're coming up to winter, because our temperatures are a lot cooler and a lot of the hippo calves are still quite young, we often find hippos sleeping out of the water as well, in little puddles or in little cuddle puddles on the banks of dams and rivers to try and warm up a bit, especially winter mornings and late afternoons. It is so peaceful here. Now what I'm really hoping for is we're going to be sitting here and hear a leopard sawing or hear a growling noise or just glimpse a leopard walking across that opposite side, because it is so thick and that's the direction Tlalamba crossed in from. So maybe she's somewhere between here and Guaripan. I think that might be our next plan. But it sounds like Cedric is on the move. I'm going to spend a few more minutes here because patience is key, and send you over to him and see what he's up to next.
Yes, I have left Swazi, still fast asleep, or Auntie Swazi, still fast asleep at the den site. Nobody else has arrived there. I think it's still a little bit early, and all the cubs are fast asleep as well. But yes, I agree with Tess. Definitely always sit at certain dams. I think dams are one of the nicest places to sit during the daytime, especially if there has been a bit of sun during the daytime and it's nice and warm. And not even that, just by chance you might be lucky to hear something growling, calling, or impala being chased into a water by some wild dogs like we had the other day. So yeah, those things are always possible. But I am on Rebecca's Road now. I'm going towards Impala Plains. I'm just going to go past Impala Plains. Just want to see if anything has those telematis didn't come east. Rudy, good afternoon, good afternoon. You always liked Uncle Swazi, now you love Auntie Swazi. Yes, definitely. And what a great auntie she is. What a great auntie she is. I can imagine she was an uncle. would have been like, that's strange, especially for a male hanging around a den site like that. But yeah, definitely, Auntie Swazi is a legend in the making. Yeah, and it's just, and for most of the hyenas around here on the Juma clan, she's got a beautiful light coat on her. But yes, apologies quickly. I think Panda is just going to quickly wipe the lens just to make sure there's no dust forming on the lens there. I think there's a little bit of dust that's coming on there. So yes, should be better now. Good. Magnifique. On y va, si for play, on y va. But yes, coming back to the coat of Swazi, very light, very pretty. And compared to the other hyenas, it's a little bit more kind of a golden color to them. So yes. But let's take a look around Impala Plains. I'm hoping for maybe those Telematis and Darkmane have come further east, due to the fact of when we left in this morning on Triple M North, there was a tractor, but it was not bad. It's a good thing because that tractor was busy pulling tires. It's a whole lot of tires that's kind of bound together over the road because there's so much corrugation. The corrugation is that like kind of a ripple effect that sits on top of the road. So pull the tires all the way down Triple M North, and I think because of that, I'm sure those lines might have pushed further east into Juma. So I'm just going to quickly have a squiz. If nothing, I'm still going to head towards Simbambili. Let me take a look that side. Let's see other little tracks here.
All things bright and beautiful. All creatures great and small. All things wise and wonderful. WildEarth will see it all. Each little flower that opens. Each river that does flow. Join us to celebrate World Environment Day for a very special safari show. We want to hear from our WildEarth kids this World Environment Day. You are the future protectors of our planet, and we want to help you understand what needs to be preserved.
We saw a termite mound. We got to see a lot of unique animals. Some trees are male and female. That's pretty cool, right? A whole lot of different creatures.
It was amazing that we could ask questions.
Kids, send in your questions for our special World Environment Day safari on June the 5th.
It was so cool.
LG7, good afternoon. Does the cam op have a seatbelt to keep them on the seat and prevent them from falling off? LG7, I'll quickly explain to you. What happens is same as our trackers and the cam ops, and sometimes the trackers that sit in front on those seats. When, of course, they get a position as a cam op or as a tracker, they actually get magnet implants into their bum cheeks, and what happens when they sit on the chairs or sit on the back, it sticks, and so they don't have to have any seat belts. So they're very fortunate to have those implants into their bum cheeks. Nice little magnets. But other than that, there is no seat belts involved in any of the cam ups. They're very safe at the back and very secure. Well, thanks LG7 for that one. While we're on Impala Plains, let's take a little bit of a squiz up here, hoping that maybe those lines on either side. Guys always ask me as well about the trackers, why they don't fall off. But it's your body is so used to kind of counterbalancing itself all the time. So no matter what, look, luckily I've never had my tracker in 16 years fly off my tracker seat or off the tracker seat itself. but it has happened before. Of course, a sudden stop, the track is not holding, not aware, and you could go flying off, but that is very seldom and does not happen at all. Some of the roads are still very, very wet. So you can just show, sometimes you get to those seep line because there's quite a thick clay layer underneath the ground. And then of course you've got your normal coarse sand that sits on top of that clay layer. And what happens when the water comes, it doesn't seep underneath the clay. It sits on top of the clay. And of course then underneath the normal coarse soil, there's a lot of water. And that what just sits then really much on top. So that's why you'll find a lot of these seep lines, the water is still kind of streaming on top of the roads and on top of the ground itself. Let's take a close eye here, because if those lines had to come past, they would have come to this circular open clearing. While we continue here, let's head back to Tess and see how the safari is going.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Those magnets, they need to be recharged regularly. It's why the guys usually enjoy dancing so much. A little bit of shaking charges the batteries, charges the magnets. But yes, it is quite safe. I think we've had more guides falling out of the vehicles than cam ops from tracking and getting very distracted and plummeting off the edge there. And in fact, when I was training, I will never forget it, we were doing birding. So it was all of the trainees and the trainers on the vehicle, and one of the trainees was driving the car, and it was in low range, and we'd switched off and we saw a bird and it moved back, and he started reversing, and as he started reversing, he was reversing like this instead of kind of head out the side. He was reversing like this and plummeted off the vehicle, and because it was in low range with such low revs, it keeps itself going. It was a Land Cruiser. And he fell off and had to run after us to try and jump back into the driver's seat. I will never ever forget that. I was sitting in the very back row with my binoculars looking at the bird, and we hadn't really realized he'd kind of fallen out the car completely because we were all looking at the bird back in the early birding days. But I was right about the buffaloes. There are vehicles coming in to have a look at them. Very, very popular when you find a herd of buffaloes. All the entertaining stories. I don't think I've ever fallen out of the vehicle, but I have had a few embarrassing incidents getting onto the Land Cruisers with guests, because the Land Cruisers have those side kind of platforms, the stainless steel ones or the steel ones that you step on, which the bars are built into for guests to get onto the back and for us to stand on the side next to the door, and we don't actually have a door next to the door gap. And a few times I've stood up in a hurry from getting back onto the car from tracking, and as you stand up, your foot slips off and it just scrapes your shin all the way up. I've had a few of those where I've fallen. Once I actually hit my face on the seat doing that. But my guests took it very well. They never let me forget it. Neither did my tracker, actually. But it's always fun. There's never a dull moment, I can tell you that much. But my mission for now, I've left Buffelshoek Dam. I'm looking for a vine snake or a twig snake or eagle. They're usually found very tightly wrapped around the branches of small bushes, especially greyish ones. So I'm busy looking for that on my way to Gwari Pan, and then I'm going to go down Cheetah Cut Line to look for those lions, and then bumble towards Chitwa. All of the good things. But I want to check Gwari Pan before I head on to Cheetah Cut Line. See how full it is. It is quite full. So let's see. It doesn't look like there's much life here, but Maybe if we sit here for a few minutes, we might hear something.
Find a way into the kill to eat, get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Okay, guys, let me just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see, it was interesting.
Tingana has been affectionately known as the Duke of Juma for many years, but his path to the throne was not an easy one. Mvula was a legend from the south.
This is the cat that I'm pretty sure Tingana was sniffing around for. That is Mvula. How exciting is this?
Eventually, Mvula lost, but his young son Quarantine started to push through from the east. At the beginning of 2018, an intruder arrived. His name was Hukamuri.
So not so long ago, I remember Gwari Pan being completely empty. And yet here we are with a full Gwari Pan. Isn't it gorgeous? So I'm hoping Tlalamba's around here somewhere. We're going to keep checking, but it sounds like Cedric has a very, very tiny predator. So let's go have a look at that while I look for a big one.
Yes, as you can see, we have got the cutest little animals here on Juma. Of course, our family of dwarf mongoose, our smallest carnivore in southern Africa. Very, very cute little family. It's sitting on this termite mound, which of course they use as their den site, as their little home. And inside, they'll always go inside of those little holes and sleep there at night time, and then early morning they'll come up, enjoy the early morning sun, and off they'll go and forage around for little grubs and all little insects, something that they can catch and feed on. And then just before the sun sets, late afternoon, they'll come back to their little den sites and enjoy the last bit of sun for the afternoon before they go inside and go take a nap for the night. They are really cute, and usually in a family like this you'll find plus minus 30 individuals, and all controlled by an alpha male and alpha female. Yes, you're looking at us. Hello. They are so cute. So that two will be the only two that'll breed, and they can have up to from 10 to 15 little youngsters if need be. So yes, all little dwarf mongoose. Oh, they're very cute. Very, very cute. And sometimes if they've got little ones, babies that's still inside of that mound, you'll find the rest of the group will go out and they'll go and forage around and feed. And you'll usually find maybe one or two that'll remain at that den site, and just making sure they're keeping the little ones safe. But yes, they do have a lot of predators, unfortunately, a lot of things, snakes, birds of prey. They love them. Ignatius, no, they're not the greatest tree climbers. They're mostly roaming on the ground. But if it's a fallen over tree, yes, of course, they can climb over onto fallen trees, because sometimes they'll actually use fallen over trees or trees that's kind of at an angle, and if it's dead and it's hollow inside, then sometimes they'll use it and check the little tail that's sticking out. They'll actually use it as a den site. So yeah, but they can't climb like right up tall trees and sit on top there. No, they'll mostly be on the ground. Those are very much as got the hornbills and the fork-tailed drongos, the birds that usually follow them around. There's a symbiotic relationship between them. Of course, the main thing is the dwarf mongoose, while they're foraging, sometimes they disturb the grounds and the grasses, and they, of course, disturb the insects. And then, of course, the hornbills and the fork-tailed drongos will snatch up on those insects that's busy escaping from the dwarf mongoose. And of course, on the other side, how the dwarf mongoose benefits from the hornbills and the fork-tailed drongo is by, if the hornbills or the fork-tailed drongo sees any potential threat or enemy, it'll warn the little dwarf mongoose and they will scatter and try to take cover from wherever that threat is coming from. So pretty much a mutualism relationship where both parties benefit from each other. Osana, I love your name. That's what, Osana, nice. Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Yes, they are always entertaining and goofy looking, but they are fantastic. I can spend hours watching dwarf mongoose, and I have spent hours watching dwarf mongoose foraging around, roaming around, and it is very entertaining. Especially where they got the young ones, the little ones with them as well. And it's very nice to see them teaching the little ones how to scratch open little holes. And sometimes you'll find the adults will actually scratch open little holes where maybe a little grub is buried inside. And the adult will scratch and teach a little one, and the little one will scratch a little bit more, and to show, okay, well, that's how you look for your food.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
That's true, Jared. Thanks, Jared. At one stage, all the dwarf mongoose looked one way, then they looked back at us, and looked the other way, look at that, and then us, and then that way. It's like watching a tennis match. Oh, cute little things. Run. A very sociable mongoose. Other sociable mongoose that we do have around here is our banded mongoose, of course, one of the larger species that we do have in this area. And then, of course, we still got the slender mongoose, which is a very feisty one. A lot of birds and squirrels and things hate the slender mongoose because they go for little birds and, of course, the eggs in it. And then, of course, you got your white-tailed mongoose, the nocturnal mongoose, a big white fluffy tail. And then Merle's mongoose, also very, almost like a slender mongoose, a little bit bigger, also solitary. But anyway, while we're going to continue watching them, let's head over to Chris in Pridelands while he's tracking his buffalo.
All right, so no further fresh signs of the buffalo. I know some of the guys had some sign of them further northwest of Leopard Dam, where we are now. I'm trying to intercept some tracks on foot. Also hoping to see some more tracks of those lions, perhaps. Maybe that. Other than that, just a general enjoyable bushwalk. It's lovely weather. It's actually rather mild and not really hot. Sun is shining. You've got some wind. It's good conditions. There was reports of a leopard as well just west of us along the western boundary, and it was running this way. And obviously on foot it's not really something we want to go and track, purely for the reason that you will probably not get a visual. Leopard on foot is gone. It's not something you get to really view on foot. They disappear very, very quickly. But should we have an encounter with leopard on foot, at least we know more or less where it's gone to, and we can go in there with the vehicle and perhaps try and find it. Wendy is asking if buffalo is the most dangerous animal to track on foot. Yeah, old solitary bulls could be a bit of a handful, but all of them can be dangerous. And it's like I always say, if you are injured or killed by an elephant or a lion or a hippo, doesn't matter. No, it still happened. Buffaloes are just more prone to go for you, especially if you encounter them at close range, and they often don't stop with counter-intimidation methods, whereas things like elephant, lion, if you stand your ground, counter-intimidate, shout at them, they tend to get nervous and run away again. And that aspect makes buffalo a little bit more dangerous. A herd like this, normally, they're more inquisitive than aggressive. So the herd seems to be more tolerant of us. In fact, they'll even come closer to investigate you. I'm not a big fan myself of tracking solitary or small groups of male buffaloes. Another reason being they often prefer the dense bushes around drainage lines, and the encounter will, in that case, be close range. So that's not something I would do for the purpose of entertainment. If it's a research-based thing or a specific animal that needs to be located for whatever reason, yes, we will track them, but not for tourism purposes. We'll stick to the big herds. Okay, let's not walk further around this over or eroded area. This is where we saw the tracks.
This morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
Oops, I nearly met my maker there. Anyway, Shaggy Dog. BK's having a chuckle. He's not sure that you would walk through that long grass. The grass is fine. You just walk slower. The stick does help because I move grass away. And it's just using techniques you train. It's not unsafe. Worst thing is probably ticks. That bites you quite a bit. These pepper ticks, these tiny little ones, and they itch where they've bitten you. Right, I reckon we should cut a little bit further north and a bit more east, do a big loop, end up at Leopard Dam, and then from Leopard Dam we'll sort of make a turn back to the vehicle which is south of us here. Well, we're going to be on the move soon, and let's get over to Tess, who's also on the move.
Chris, a good stick is always handy in the bush, I can tell you that much. But yes, tracking buffaloes is quite dangerous, but it can be a lot of fun if you know how to get it right, which Chris absolutely does. He's one of the best walkers I know in the bush. It is so incredible to be able to approach animals on foot without them ever knowing you were there and then leave. That is the aim of every walk, or it should be anyway. If you're a good guide, the aim of every walk should be to approach, view and leave an animal without it ever knowing you were there. I'm busy doing a loop. I digress, sorry. But I'm busy doing a loop. I've done a bit of cheetah cut line down past Central Road. South of there, I'm now coming back on Drakensberg, and here's Central Junction again. And the Nkuhumas have moved. There are no tracks coming in this way, so I can only assume they've gone further east into Torchwood. They might just be lying 10, 15, 20 meters further into the bush in some shade, but from the cut line we can't see them. So we've been checking along here for tracks. Unfortunately, nothing has crossed the cut line. There are tracks coming north up here, but they very well could be from this morning when they moved here to that original spot. So we're going to give it another good check, and then we're going to head towards Chitwa. But so far, the only tracks we found along the stretch, other than those tracks from this morning, are tracks of a human, which have been tracking animals. Nice tracker issue boots, very distinct pattern on the bottom. Nice and hardy. But it is quite a gorgeous afternoon. It's colder than we expected, I suppose because the wind is picking up. But that also means all the animals' behaviors are going to change. The herbivores are going to be a little bit more shy. The predators are going to be a little bit more active. The elephants are going to be fairly normal, maybe just a little bit more alert. But even things like the buffaloes, we saw them lying out in the open in the sun, huddled up together. Belgian watcher, I can absolutely do a bird call challenge if you would like me to. I go through phases where I do them on every safari and then I stop for a while, but absolutely I can do a bird call challenge. Maybe a good time would be when we get to Chitwa Dam. A beautiful view, we can play a bird call challenge or two, a bird call or two, and have a challenge, see who can guess them. I'll make it tough today. I'll make it tough. Maybe one easier one and one tough one, just to ease back into it. I love my bird call challenges. Morgan was here, he would be making me imitate them live. I actually saw Morgan on my leave because he's also in Port Alfred.
Yeah, sections of even like a herd of buffalo that's standing one.
Everybody wants those buffaloes. Okay, so now we're exactly where the lions were. There's actually there's someone tracking them at the moment, trying to figure out where they went from where they walked. And they were just off onto the left, lying in the shade. And there's a guide and tracker out of their vehicle at the moment, trying to figure out where on earth they went from here. But it looks like they've moved, maybe to a bigger patch of shade. Also remember, with the wind, they're in a fairly open area. They might have wanted to go to a more secluded area, somewhere with a bit more shelter.
My name is Amy Macmillan. I'm the owner and founder of Ellie and May and one of the directors of the Macmillan Conservation Fund. My brother Mike and I were incredibly close and both share a great passion for conservation, for wildlife, for nature, for elephants in particular. Tragically, Mike was killed in a car accident. It was through his passion and enthusiasm for conservation and for elephants that really prompted me to start Ellie and May. Ellie and May is a lifestyle apparel brand that contributes towards and raises awareness about elephant conservation. So a percentage of our sales of our caps and our products goes towards the Macmillan Conservation Fund. The aim of the Macmillan Conservation Fund is to support other conservation initiatives through anti-poaching, through the conservation of Africa's wildlife, community upliftment, development and education, and at the heart of it all, keeping Mike's legacy alive.
So we've just bumped into Dylan and his tracker. They're from Chitwa. They're down on foot, and it looks like the Nkuhumas chased some giraffes which were on Juma, then disappeared back over into Torchwood. I think they're going to be tracking for a while, but they'll keep us updated. Lily, you're 7 years old. Thank you so much for your question. It's a very good question because it's something that I think a lot of people wonder about. Birds have very specific coloration, and it can depend on a few different things. One of them is their breeding habits. So for example, if a boy needs to impress a girl or a male needs to impress a female, often the most brightly colored male of those species will outcompete the other males by having brighter colors, and so he gets chosen by more females. So this is very common in things like birds of paradise and some of the brighter birds, which is where you also find what's called sexual dimorphism. So the males will look different to the females or vice versa. So the male might be incredibly brightly colored like a weaver, and the female is actually much more brown, but it can be swapped where the female is brighter. Another reason for bright coloration would be potentially things like, it sounds ridiculous, but camouflage. In things like rainforests, the brighter birds often blend in better than, for example, in the bush. But then you also get birds like lilac-breasted rollers, which males and females are bright, compared to something like an ostrich, which is very dull grey. And so there's a big change in colors there. Now that brightness could just be because it blends in with the blue of the sky and it's just attractive, and it's something that they have developed, versus an ostrich which needs to blend in with the floor, which is more grey colors. So if tree line and sky compared to floor, which is more dusty versus brighter colors, that might be a reason for it as well. So there's a few different reasons. The most common though is that the ones that need to impress the female purely by their look will be brighter species, versus something like an ostrich where they actually physically fight for females. They don't need to be as brightly colored. That's normally the most common reason. And in those ones you will see a sexual dimorphism where the males are often more brightly colored than the females, because that's the point of the coloration. It's quite a fascinating thing. There's definitely no tracks coming further south, so I think these Nkuhumas have definitely got into Torchwood. We didn't see anything towards Bethelsop Dam, although we didn't do the stretch of Cheetah Cut Line from Central Road up to Hippo Quarry, or Hippo Pools. Alright, I'm going to head towards Chitwa. Maybe we'll get lucky there and I'll prepare some bird calls for you. And I'll head over to, well, I'll send you over to Cedric, should I say, to see what he's up to in his bubble.
Yes, unfortunate for that. Sorry, I don't listen out here. They're just trying to see if they can try and follow up on something on Triple M, I'm sure, for those telemarties. So, yeah, the guys got their trackers on foot there, and hopefully they can locate them. But while that's happening, we're on One Eye Pan, we are on Simambili. I'm heading straight towards Simambili clearing, where we had Zutini yesterday morning. Apparently, I spoke to one of the guides from another lodge now, and they said that they had Zutini as well again on Simambili clearing this morning. So, I do not know about that, so I'm going to head straight towards Simambili clearing, and I want to see if I can follow up on that female leopard. She is a real cutie pie, that one, and I'm really hoping that we do see more of her. It is Tiani's daughter. She's about 3.5 years old. And she's really a very cute little leopard. Let's hold thumbs. All right, let's head to Tess and see what she's got.
Seems like the universe is teasing me. I'm looking for lions and all I'm finding is lion's eye, little orange flowers. But it's quite lovely to see flowers at this time of the year. That being said, that is why I sound the way I do right now. So it's a love-hate relationship with flowers and grass at the moment. But it's alright, I'll acclimatise soon. Gerrit is coming back since Igor is leaving, and he's been kind enough to buy me some extra allergy medication, because you know what happened? Cedric was talking about that sleepy baboon guard in Ace Ventura 2. I had my stuff stolen by the monkeys off of this vehicle in my crate, and so they took all of my allergy medication. Who knows what they're doing with it.
Our Western Cape coastline is graced with the Cape fur seal. This playful species is curious and entertaining. At Hout Bay Seal Rescue Centre, seals in need are rescued, fed and nursed back to health by our well-trained team of dedicated staff and volunteers. This wonderful legacy of the centre is continued as these protected creatures are rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, we have exciting news for you.
The winner of this month's prize giveaway will win a hamper full of Explorer merchandise.
Like this fantastic t-shirt that comes in plenty of great colours, a very useful tote bag, or even a cap.
For those in the southern hemisphere that's heading into winter, a sweatshirt to keep you warm.
Head over to the WildEarth Explorers page. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win all of these goodies.
WildEarth, it's in your name.
Didier, that's quite a tough question to answer. I think some animals perceive us and tourists as threats, and some become very habituated to us. So it really just depends. It really depends on the situation, because if you're comparing photographic safaris like this to walking safaris to, you know, people just being in areas where they shouldn't be and wildlife is not habituated, the feeling from the animals and from us is going to be very different. Where we are, they don't really see us as a threat, especially on the vehicles. They're very habituated. They see us as one giant animal that smells a bit like oil leaks, I suppose, and maybe engine grease, and of course individual human smells. But if you're looking at other situations, especially on foot, we are seen as a threat because on foot we are on even ground and animals naturally know that they've been hunted. We are considered a predator for centuries. So in that sense we would be considered more of a threat. But if you know how to handle yourself and you've got respect for the animals, there is absolutely no way that you should be getting yourself into trouble. I've always maintained that, of course, the 1 in a million can happen where there is absolutely nothing you could have done to prevent a situation or to have prevented it. But if you have an incident with an animal, it's on you. You've caused that incident because you should be aware, you should be respecting the animal, and you're in their space. So if they perceive you as a threat, it's because you made yourself perceivable as a threat. Nothing, or hopefully completely unnoticed by the animal, which is the prime of what you want. So I'm a very firm believer in that. If you have an incident with an animal, you are to blame, because an animal will give you ample warning, and as is, they should not perceive you as a threat because they should not notice you there. Of course, a lot of the time they do, but if they do, you still have every opportunity to get yourself out of that perceived threat state and much more neutral. You just step back into that neutral zone and go back into the comfort zone. So animals have a zone like a dartboard. This is the threat, this is the neutral zone, and that is completely don't care that you're here. And that's where you want to be on the spectrum. That's the kind of training and attitude that should be had in the bush. But I am quite strict on that, I suppose, with the training that I had. But I'm very grateful for it. I'm very, very grateful. I have not met the crocodile babies yet, so I want to do that as well. Chitwa Dam representing. WildEarth crossing into Chitwa from Cheetah Cut Line. Any updates? Let's see what happens. Where more or less were the crocodiles last time, Igor?
You go over the wall.
To that side?
Yeah. The wall, and there's a little box sticking out.
Stunning. Let's go have a look there. Beautiful. Let's have a look and then we'll come back this side and see what else is here. I wonder if there have been any leopards around with all this rain. concentric circle, a lot of the time, monkeys and baboons, well, you actually see them differently. You see monkeys more than you'd see baboons, I would say. And that's because baboons are probably one of the highest, by history with humans, the highest conflict species that we have, because they are incredibly intelligent. They have put 2 and 2 together that when they steal food, they get chased. And that's not necessarily what happens, but it has happened for many, many years. There's been that conflict. So I think that's one of the reasons. But also remember that their habits are slightly different to things like elephants. Elephants will be kind of around feeding all the time, where baboons keep moving constantly in very specific areas. So they would, for example, stick more to the thickets, up the trees, along the riverbanks, which we don't actually have a lot of at Juma. The topography isn't perfect for a troop of baboons. But for monkeys, especially around camp, it's very good for them because they don't need as big trees, they don't need those riverine thickets. They're more than happy in an open area as long as they can keep finding food. And so that's kind of the idea behind, we don't really see them all together that much. Also, they're intelligent enough to know that, you know, humans aren't always friendly. It's not a reflection on us, it's a reflection on humans in general, unfortunately. And so that's just through history, and passing it on generation to generation is a potential. I know Chris was talking about this exact thing the other day at Pridelands in one of the morning bushwalks when he saw some monkeys. And it's a various amount of reasons, but a lot of it is we don't have the right topography and geography. We don't see them often because there aren't actually as many as we think there are. And of course, conflict. Oh my goodness, that thing is tiny.
Cute, eh?
It is so cute.
Little murder gecko.
A murder gecko. Oh my word. I'm sorry, everyone. A murder gecko. Wow. So that is much smaller than I was expecting. To be perfectly honest, with the naked eye, it's almost impossible to see unless you know what you're looking for. That is probably, in total length, what, 12 centimeters, if that? What did you find? Oh, wow, it's got a kill. A green-backed heron with a massive fish. Well spotted, Igor. See, Chitwa Dam always has something to offer. So I was busy trying to reposition the fish at this stage. If it opens its beak too much, that fish is going to fall out. So it needs to slowly try and orientate it so that it's head first. There you go. So when it swallows, the scales are facing the correct way and don't get stuck. I wonder how long it's going to take for it to... Oh, there you go. It looks like it's getting ready to swallow. So I suppose another problem to face is if you swallow that thing while it's still very alive. Oh, there it goes. And it's like it never existed. Oh, it looks a little stuck though. Clean the beak. If you swallow it while it's still fairly alive, I suppose you'll have a fish jumping around in your throat. Very interesting.
All things bright and beautiful. All creatures great and small. All things wise and wonderful. WildEarth will see it all. Each little flower that opens. Each river that does flow. Join us to celebrate World Environment Day for a very special safari show. We want to hear from our Wild Earth kids this World Environment Day. You are the future protectors of our planet, and we want to help you understand what needs to be preserved.
We saw a termite mound. We got to see a lot of unique animals. Some trees are male and female. That's pretty cool, right?
A whole lot of different creatures.
It was amazing that we could ask questions.
Kids, send in your questions for our special World Environment Day safari on June the 5th.
It was so cool.
There it goes. That was unbelievably well spotted. Eagle Eye Eagle. Amazing stuff. So this little corner is actually where I saw that hippo calf that was halfway out of the birth canal with BK actually at the beginning of the year. So it's a very productive corner because it's got so much greenery. It's a little bit shallower. It's got a bit more cover. And the fish are using it, but the heron is very... it's a green-backed heron, everybody, a green-backed heron. And it's using this to its advantage. It's using the greenery to walk on the top of the water, but also to hide it from above. They can't really make out the shape of the bird through the greenery. And the fish will be hiding underneath that for shelter. So it's really using that to its advantage for hunting today. It's amazing. We saw a kingfisher do that the other day as well at Buffelshoek Dam, and that fish disappeared, and the bird did not even change shape. Where did the fish go? Very flexible stomach, but I suppose also the feathers will change the shape that we see versus the actual outline of the skin of the body, with a very full stomach versus not. That'll be using those ripples to its advantage as well. Because the surface of the water isn't smooth, the fish will struggle to see through that water a clear image. But it does also make it a little bit more difficult for the heron to see as well into the water. But it is the perfect opportunity for hunting, whether you're a leopard or a heron or a kingfisher. It is a great opportunity. You might hear some voices in the background. We are very close to Chitwa Lodge, so there are, of course, staff moving around, preparing the camp for when everyone gets back from safari.
Well, I do see another avian little friend with a bit of a fishy breath as well.
Ah, the kingfisher. Fishy breath. Delightful. So that kingfisher was actually perched on the same little log sticking out of the water as the baby crocodile. It would have been a fantastic size comparison. And we got very heavily distracted by the heron. But you can see the kingfisher just there. It's a speck of white in the frame. Very bright in this afternoon golden light because it's getting closer to the horizon. It's a lot brighter. Look at that. It had a dive just now for a fish, but unfortunately was not successful. Now it's very possibly just perching, looking for some more food, finding a nice hangout spot. Carry birds usually have to eat pretty much every day, unless it's a species that has a crop like a vulture. They have a very large crop and they can store more food in there. So they wouldn't have to eat necessarily every single day. But most birds would eat every single day. Because they're quite small, their metabolism is quite high, so they burn through energy quite quickly. They burn through food sources. So they would have to keep looking for food almost continuously. So that's why whenever you see things like crested francolin, Swainson's spurfowls, red-crested korhans, all of those, all the way up to ostriches, when you see them, they're usually walking along the floor and pecking away at the floor looking for food sources. Same thing would happen with things like lilac-breasted rollers. Even when they're perched up on a tree like this pied kingfisher, they're looking for food because they burn through it incredibly quickly. You can imagine it takes quite a bit of energy to fly. They are obviously very well designed for it, very light, hollow bones, enlarged lungs, those kinds of things. But it still takes a fair bit of energy to be able to fly and to fly quickly and change directions. So they burn through it quite fast. Oh, there it comes back again. Oh, unsuccessful again.